What's going on, guys? River Banshee. Today what we're going to talk about is we're going to dive a little bit more in depth of the lures that I was talking about in the first video. Now, where we're going to start is we're going to start with one of the classics, that being a spinner. Okay, a spinner bait is one of the best baits you can use, especially early spring. You can throw it around weeds, you can throw it around cover, and it's going to do really well as far as not getting snagged, catching too many weeds, depending on how thick and the type of weeds that we're talking about. But this is something that you can cover a lot of water with, and something that you can catch some big ass bass on. Okay, now with the spinner, what you're going to notice is when you're fishing rivers, it's always best to cast upstream and bring it back down. Okay, you're going to pass a lot of the cover, you're going to pass a lot of the laydowns, and this goes for typically any lure that you're going to use. Now, I have had luck catching some big bass going against the current. Typically early spring is when I'll throw that. It just seems to be the time of the year that works best for that. But the best way that you can increase the presentation on a spinner is by throwing a good trailer on there. All right, so I'm gonna throw a demonstration, and as you can see, the trailer on the spinner, I'm using a paddle tail. The top is a little bit of a green blue and the bottom is a chartreuse, with the spinner itself being a yellow and green spinner. Now, this does have the willow blades on there with a small Colorado blade. I touched on this before, or maybe I should have, is if you want to get a nice good chug behind that spinner, you can throw a Colorado blade. Now, one of the general rules of thumb for a spinner, what color blade you'll throw, is with the murky water, you'll throw gold. With the clear water, throw silver. Now, of course, rules are meant to be broken, so I have had done both, and I've also caught big bass on both. So do with that what you will, but in this instance, I was using a silver willow blade, and we were doing pretty good. Now with the spinner, the retrieve is a little, it matters, okay? Depending on the time of the year, you can cover fast water, you can power fish it, right? You can do little bursts of speed with a little bit of a slower tempo going behind that, and you'll do just fine, okay? Now with the spinner, depending on the retrieve, you can either cover more water, or you can be a little bit more of a finesse around cover, okay? Now with the rivers, I do like to bring it past those breaks, fallen trees, fallen logs, things like that, okay? Now the next, as I said before, my favorite is the Zoom Super Fluke. The Zoom Super Fluke is a great bait all year round. Fall, you can fish it slow. Early spring, you can fish it real slow, catch some big bass. Now this time of the year, where I'm gonna pitch it is gonna be around cover, tighter cover. You can really get in there with the weedless. You can get in there a little bit more seamlessly than using something like a spinner. A bass jig too can be a little bit clunky, but you can get in there with those as well. But with the fluke, this is gonna be pure finesse, okay? So depending on how you hook it, right, you can either get that sink action where you can land on a bed, or you can get a more finesse action when you put the hook a little bit deeper and further back on that Senko, okay? Now with the Senko, again, I will be casting upstream, and I will be, depending on I'm gonna throw a couple different tempos, but I'll start a little bit more of a happy medium with a little bit of a burst and then a drop, a little bit of a burst and a drop. Now, either which way, usually on that fall down is when the bass will strike, okay? This goes for virtually almost every lure that you're talking about here. On that fall down is when you're gonna get hit, okay? Next, with the bass jig. The bass jig is gonna be one of those, again, classic lures that with any bass fisherman, there's either people love them or they hate them because they feel like as if they don't catch bass on them. But if you use them correctly, you learn how to use them, you learn where to throw them, you can catch some huge bass on a bass jig. This is another one of those instances where attaching a good trailer to this bass jig will increase that presentation tremendously. Now, you can honestly get creative with these. There's so many trailers out there that you can attach with a bunch of different actions, a bunch of different styles, and you can catch some big bass on those. Now with the retrieve on a bass jig, this is something that I do like to throw around cover. You know, if you're in a lake, you can punch weeds with it. You can throw it around the weed beds, you could throw it around laydowns there as well. Now when we're talking about spawn, this is something that will get a very good reaction from the bass themselves, okay? Especially when you land it on a bed and you give it that little nudge, just enough to flare up that trailer that you have on there. It's gonna irritate the bass, okay? One thing that you'll notice about spawning bass is they'll flare up on a lure, or they'll do little nibbles or baby bites, or they'll pick up the lure and try and move it, okay? They'll pick up the lure off the bed and they'll just move it off, right? Now, it's a little tricky, right? Because they know what they're doing. You can't always get a hook set when they do that. So you can work these bass on these beds with any of these lures that I'm talking about, but when the bass jig case, throw a good trailer on there and keep bringing it past that bed. Now, I've noticed that a faster, more aggressive retrieve towards that bed gets a faster, more aggressive reaction from that bass, okay? So if you're throwing these and you bring it in hot, you'll more than likely get a hot strike, and then you'll start pissing them off and you'll get exactly what you're looking for. With the colors on any of these lures that I'm talking about, it does tie to the video that I posted before. Now, we've had some rain here in the past couple of days, so the rivers are flowing. They're very, very murky. It's almost like half chocolate milk at the time, right? Diluted a little bit with some water, that's what you get. So right now what I've been throwing is I've been throwing more chartreuse, more lime type greens, yellows, something a little bit more brighter to pierce through that color. Now it's not completely diluted, okay? It's not completely murky, so there is still a little bit of clarity here, so I don't want to stray too far with something that's too hot, okay? That's just me. I've been having some good luck with it. Again, been throwing a lime green yellow spinner with a chartreuse and green blue paddle tail, okay? Now, the last one I'm going to talk about is the lizard or the brush hog, okay? Both of these, they're like distant cousins to each other. Both of these with a drop shot or weightless will do phenomenal for you, okay? I've caught some very, very good bass this spring already on a weightless brush hog, throwing upstream towards cover and just letting that lure float, okay? Give it a little bit of an action and just let it float. Again, on these fall downs with these lures, with the spinner too, but the spinner, of course, you're having a little bit more of a fast retrieve depending on how you're fishing it. So many different ways to fish the spinner. That fall down is when you're gonna get smashed, okay? The fall down on these lures is where you're gonna get hit. If you're throwing a Senko, you get that shimmy in there, that shimmy drives them crazy, and that's when they hit, okay? So keep this in mind. You wanna give the bass enough time to hit these lures, okay? I know a lot of this topic seems very beginner, elementary. This is what it's for, okay? We have to start here at the basics, and if anybody doesn't know how to fish, the tips that I'm giving you here, you can go out today and you can catch some big ass bass, okay? Now the last thing that I want to cover is the other side of water clarity, which is when you have clear water, the colors you're going to throw here, this is where we start to get a little bit more towards those natural tones, okay? This is where you throw a green pumpkin, you can throw a watermelon, a pumpkin itself, right? You can throw these, like smoking shad is a good fluke color for this as well, baby bass and Houdini, those are my top three. You want to be able to relay and demonstrate and present that lure as realistic as possible to that bass, okay? Let's go get them, guys. Thank you so much. I'm gonna do one more video on spawn because we're kind of on the back end of it here in Illinois. We're gonna start moving into summer and then we'll start getting them. Thank you, guys.